I recently built this Socket 7 gaming PC featuring a Voodoo 1, but I made one critical mistake in building it. I used a 430VX motherboard made by PC Partners, aka PC Chips. Today, we're going to fix this by installing a Gigabyte 430TX motherboard. Let's get started. I figured while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and install a Pentium 233mmx CPU to take full advantage of the TX chipset in this motherboard. If you're unfamiliar with the 430TX chipset, it's one of Intel's last chipsets they made for the Socket 7 platform. It's really fast and performs very well under games. Before we can install the new motherboard, we have to take the old one out. So let's go ahead and unscrew the case and then take the lid off. Now that I'm inside the case, I'm going to go ahead and unscrew all the expansion cards and then take them out. Next, I'll disconnect the power as well as all the IDE cables and then unscrew the motherboard. And it took a bit of work to get out, but as we can see, the motherboard came out smoothly. Rather than placing the new motherboard straight in the case, I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the motherboard tray and install it on that. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the motherboard directly onto the tray. It took a bit of work to get it lined up right, but eventually it fitted perfectly. I'm going to go ahead and use some different SD RAM too, as I was having issues with the last lot. The two DIMMs installed pretty easy into the motherboard. Now I'll go ahead and install the motherboard tray. It slots in pretty easy. Yeah, this was definitely a much better way of installing the motherboard. And I'll just put the two screws back in. I'm also going to go ahead and install a rear PS2 mouse port. This will make it much easier to find a compatible mouse. Simply by just plugging in the PS2 port and then taking off the slot cover and installing the port, you're pretty much done and you've got a fully functional PS2 port. This motherboard also supports an ATX power connector, so I'll go ahead and disconnect the AT adapter I was using. Next, I'll go ahead and plug in all of the ribbon cables, and there's quite a few of them in this case. Now I'm going to go ahead and reinstall our CF to IDE adapter. Finally, I'll go ahead and reinstall all of our expansion cards. And as you can see, the PS2 port on the back is super handy for plugging in a regular PS2 mouse. Now let's go ahead and fire up the computer. Sorry about the screen flicker, by the way, I tried my best to fix it. And yeah, would you look at that, we boot straight into Windows. I've already gone ahead and installed all the drivers, so now we're ready to try out some games. Let's first start with a favourite of mine, Motocross Madness. Let's try out some GTA next. How about some Revolt next? not as smooth as it could be. How about some Wolfenstein 3D next? How about some Ultimate Doom? Well, I think this PC's turned out pretty well. Doom sounds great with the Sound Blaster or 64's wavetable built in. That's about it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.